Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
The more people know about Obamacare, the less they like it. It is a train wreck. It was sold to the American people as being a system that would increase coverage and make insurance coverage more affordable. In fact, it's neither. Liberty Counsel's important lawsuit, I'll be arguing that on May 16 to try to take down this monster known as Obamacare. I am Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, Vice President of Liberty Counsel Action, to talk about this Obamacare train wreck. And Matt, I'll be arguing on May the 16th before the Court of Appeals for the second time on Obamacare. It's Liberty University versus Geithner. And we have a comprehensive challenge to Obamacare. We'll continue to keep our viewers and our listeners updated regarding that. But the more Obamacare is being rolled out, and the more people see its impact, the more and more they are angry at this, and the less they like Obamacare.
Yeah, Obamacare, the Obamacare socialized medicine locomotive with all its cars behind it of increased premium payments, doctors quitting, losing your family doctor, being put into some huge federal bureaucracy where bureaucrats make the decision on who gets treatment, who doesn't get treatment, rationing. All of these cars, one after another, nobody likes to hear, "I told you so," but we screamed it from the rooftops. Yeah. We told you so. Well, they just sent out this huge locomotive with all these cars, socialist cars behind it, with no track ahead. Remember, Nancy Pelosi famously said, "We have to pass the bill before we see what's in it." Well, that's like sending the locomotive full speed with no track laid out in front of it.
And boy, was she right about that. Yeah. It's a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but she was right, because you can't really understand what's in this thing until you really see how it's implemented. And they didn't know what was in it. Different people knew what was in it, and obviously there were some people who knew that was in it. It was a socialist turnaround of this country. Montana Democrat Senator Max Baucus called the Obamacare a, quote, train wreck. And a Democratic colleague, West Virginia Senator Jay Rockefeller, described the massive so-called Affordable Care Act as, quote, beyond comprehension, close quote. And Henry Cho, the government's chief technical officer in charge of putting in place the insurance exchanges mandated by law, was quoted in the Congressional Quarterly recently as saying, quote, "I'm pretty nervous. Let's just make sure it's not a third world experience." Now, this is Obama's technical individual who's in charge of putting up the exchanges. Let's just make sure we're not getting into a third world experience. I'm pretty nervous about this situation. I mean, this is Obamacare. We're in 2013. It's in the process of being implemented. Full implementation is January 1, 2014.
They have no idea what they're doing. And if we've set the bar so high to say, hey, anything other than a third world experience is acceptable, let's just hope it's not a third world experience. Matt, Obamacare cannot work. It's simply, you do the math. It will not work. Premiums are already calculated to increase out of your pocket, folks, by at least double. They're at least going to double. Doctors are dropping out. Medical students aren't going to medical school. This thing cannot work, and I believe that was always by design, because the goal here is a single-payer, socialized system, and so they knew it couldn't work. This was just the precursor to socialized medicine.
Well, Oliver Wyman, consultants from that organization, they wrote on the issue earlier this year in January in Contingencies, which is the magazine of the American Academy of Actuaries. These are people who predict different kinds of insurance cost and so forth. They said around 6 million of the 19 million people with individual health policies are going to pay more, and this even after accounting for government subsidies offered under law. So the government's going to pay more for these subsidies, which you and I will ultimately end up paying for. That's a tax increase, obviously. And then in addition to that, these 6 million people are going to actually pay more for their health insurance. We now know that there's employers around the country. I have personal contact with them. They're not hiring. They're not expanding because they don't know what is going to happen under Obamacare. This is a nightmare. For Liberty University, as an example, we have several thousand adjunct professors at Liberty University. The question is, do they now have to be covered by Obamacare? Well, Obamacare now redefines full-time. So if you work 30 hours a week, you are now full-time. So someone who has a part-time job, maybe they're semi-retired, they want to do some adjunct teaching on the side. They're not wanting to have a full-time job. They work 30 hours a week, and it's not all through the year. It's at the certain period where you're determining your coverage. Now all of a sudden they're covered under insurance. Somebody has to pay for that. Well, the employer has to pay for that, and the employer doesn't have the money. It's not like the federal government that we can just simply borrow endlessly from China. They have to have books that balance. The federal government doesn't understand that. This is a system that is going to implode right before our very eyes.
Yeah, so a lot of employers, rather than having 3 individuals hired to work 40 hours a week, are hiring maybe those same 3 individuals to work 29 hours a week so that they don't have to pay the premiums, because otherwise it will break them. Obamacare is a job-killing, healthcare rationing monstrosity train wreck. Even Democrats now are regretting, right and left, they're coming out of the woodwork saying, oh boy, I regret voting for this monstrosity. They need to repeal it.
They need to repeal it. I mean, yeah, Democrats that supported it, obviously Max Baucus and Jay Rockefeller have come out. There are also other Democrats that are coming out. Obviously Republicans were opposed to it. People around the country are opposed to it. In fact, it's a negative rating from polling from people. More and more people are opposed to it now.
Only 30% favor Obamacare. It's all-time low.
It's all-time low. Even at the time, it's right at that same
30%
threshold.
support.
So instead of getting more popular, it's getting less popular as it's being rolled out. It will affect every single individual. Well, Liberty Counsel has a lawsuit that I will argue on May the 16th at the Federal Court of Appeals. This is a suit where we filed on the very first day that Obamacare was signed into law, the first private lawsuit filed in the country. We challenged the employer mandate in its entirety for religious and secular employers, the employer mandate regarding the contraception, sterilization, abortifacients, and IUD mandate, the individual mandate that also requires individuals that are part of a plan that covers abortion to pay money directly to cover abortion, even though they're male or they're young or they oppose abortion. And then also the fact that if this is a tax, as the Supreme Court said regarding the individual mandate, then it violates the origination clause because it originated in the Senate under Harry Reid, not the House. And so all of those are being argued on May the 16th. We'll have a ruling later this year. But the Supreme Court revived our case and ordered our case to be reheard at the Court of Appeals. So we know at least 5 justices on the Supreme Court are wanting to hear more about Obamacare.
Yeah, and really our case is the last best hope to undo Obamacare. And I would ask everyone listening right now to be in prayer. Pray that God would work on the hearts of these Supreme Court justices. John Roberts particularly, he's getting a second bite at this rotten apple, Matt. And I'm hoping that this time around he'll do the right thing. We were all shocked when in June he said that it was a tax and therefore permissible. Well, it's one of the biggest tax increases in American history, of course, but we need to be in prayer that the U.S. Supreme Court will overturn this monstrosity.
And by the way, the so-called 15-member panel that's supposed to be appointed to review health insurance coverage, the Independent Payment Advisory Board, the rationing or death panel that Sarah Palin referred to, it's vacant. Nobody wants to sit on it. No one wants to be associated with it. Not a single person has been put on this panel yet because they don't want to be associated with this train wreck. And also, by the way, Obamacare will be in part enforced by the Department of Labor. Well, Thomas Perez is being nominated as Secretary of Labor. Harry Mahet, our attorney with Liberty Counsel, testified before Congress recently about his abject refusal to follow the rule of law. We have a train wreck with this whole thing coming down. Pray for Liberty Counsel, pray for me, pray for the judges as this case is argued before the Court of Appeals on May the 16th. And you can go to Liberty Counsel's website for more information, lc.org. We appreciate your prayers and also your financial support. This has been a very expensive case, and this is just one of many cases that Liberty Counsel handles around the country. You can go to lc.org to sign up for our Liberty Alert email and our Grassfire Action email as well, right there on the homepage of lc.org. And you can also make an online credit card contribution or mail in your contribution to support Liberty Counsel, this case and many others, where we advance religious freedom, the sanctity of human life, and the family all around the country. Go to lc.org.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.